Good evening and welcome to SOC TV and to the Spot on Hose and Fittings Clubhouse on this amazing Thursday night, live from Adelaide. And I'm your host, Anthony Telfer, and it's an absolute pleasure to bring you edition number 108. That's correct, 108. And as you know, the Clubhouse is not just a show about cricket. It's a place where we come together to relive the highlights. We share our thoughts, and we also celebrate the day's play with both our teammates, our opposition, the umpires, and we do this over a cold beer or a softie. So whether you're a club cricketer or an international player, the Clubhouse has something special for everyone. And the Clubhouse is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, Spot On Hose and Fittings, who specialise in the supply of hydraulic hose and fittings for the mining, manufacturing, agricultural, industrial and construction industries. So tell Jeff and Ben Charlesworth that Telf and Walshy sent you, and I'm sure they'll give you not a red hot deal, but a bright fluoro green deal. So thanks for your support and continued support to Jeff and Ben. But as usual, I'm joined in the Clubhouse by great mate and Aussie legendary broadcaster, Peter Walsh. Hello, mate. How are you? And welcome back. What's caught your eye this week?
Well, I reckon I need about 5 different pairs of glasses standing by to change to the number of sports that I've been watching. The Olympics, oh so good, the O being for the Olympics, of course, but we're preparing, Telf, for the 17th edition of the Paralympic Games, and they start very shortly. Australia represented by 160 athletes in 17 sports. I've been to 4 of those before. It is mesmerising. We won't go into too much detail now, but we will in the weeks to come. Overall, 4,500 athletes from around the world in 22 sports, and it'll be wonderful. For Australia, 61 make their debut, and that'll be good fun. Let's say congratulations, Libby Kosmala, 8th Paralympics. She, of course, is in the sport of shooting, and Danny DeToro, 8th Paralympics Games. They are spectacular performers. They don't want sympathy. They need congratulations for being able to say, we are representing our country. That is wonderful. I know we've got a very special guest, so I'm going to burble through very quickly the next stat, which I think is quite mind-boggling. Hawthorn's favourite song this week has been, "What a Difference a Day Makes." What will happen to Will Day? We don't know. But you ready for this one? I couldn't believe it when I did the stats. Each club has 44 players on their list. We all know that. Multiply that by 18 and you get a few. This weekend, with suspensions, with injuries, and with players that have been dropped because of poor form, 155 footballers are not available or haven't been selected. And Carlton have 19 missing, the Giants have 10 missing, and the West Coast Eagles at the bottom of the ladder, they have 10. That now is all pushed to one side. 1 round to go, and being a boy from Ballarat, where I had a lot of fun building myself up for tonight, that's the game that will be the result which will decide the futures of the Bulldogs. They play in their home away from home at the Northern Oval. That's not what it's called, but it was in my days. It'll be freezing there, and that game will wrap up the season. There'll be a bye next week, and then we'll start our helter-skelter to see who will sing the song and who will then grab the Premiership Cup off Collingwood, who, incidentally, we all know, will not play in the finals. That's enough for me now. I'm finished now. Good night. And it's back to you, Telf, and your special guest, Andrew.
And thanks for everyone for joining us tonight. Hey, Walshy, you've got far too much time on your hands if you've been able to pull all of those stats and figures out of somewhere, I guess. But I tell you what, I'm looking forward to the weekend, just like you are, to see the brown and gold and hopefully push on to play in their first final series for quite some time. But let's get edition number 108 started. But before we do, don't forget the IF project and also Spot On, 2 of our major partners. And make sure you download the IF app and that share it with all your mates, because together we can make a difference to men's mental health. And through the IF project, we're making a difference. But tonight in the Clubhouse, we're catching up with another great mate of mine. and another Aussie legend. And he's also skipper of the EV2 cricket franchise that are going to be heading to Mildura. But he's also a former international tennis player and has represented his country in both tennis and also cricket. So well done to you, Kratzy. Welcome to the Spot on Hose and Fittings Clubhouse. It's an absolute pleasure to have you aboard tonight.
Thanks, Telf. Thanks, Walshy. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a lot of years of, what would you say? A lot of body injuries and everything like that to get to this point where still playing sport. It's awesome.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, and
real pleasure to be on the show tonight, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, we will get straight into it, but before we do that, we touched on the IF project and men's health and mental health, and the fact that you are, I guess, in a lot of people's eyes, a legend through tennis. But to see you still running around that, well, I should be careful about the word running, shouldn't I, Kratzy?
You should.
You're still out and about, standing at first slip and waddle from one end to the other. But
second slip.
Sorry, second slip. But it's great. It's great that you're out there still playing and enjoying this magnificent game of cricket and playing with your mates and enjoying that and making friends, not just in Queensland but all around Australia, but more importantly all around the world. So we'll get to that later on, but maybe let's go back to those early days and look, we've had the Chappell brothers in here. Talking about their days, and I think it was Greg that chased Trevor around with the tomahawk. Surely we've got some similar stories with the Kratzmans, back in the day. Let's start back in the day, where you were young and playing sport of all sorts, obviously.
Yeah, we grew up playing, obviously, cricket and tennis as young fellas. And gosh, Mark used to annoy the heck out of Mum, hitting against the weatherboard house all day, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And a little bit similar to what probably Don Bradman did a little bit in a way. And he did that. And it was just all day long. The weatherboard house, it doesn't come back straight. So you had to have you learned to have a good hand-eye there. But yeah, I pretty much followed in Mark's footsteps in that regard. And in terms of when we were young, I remember once him going away because he played, he's 6 years older than me. And he'd been away playing overseas. And I'd got this whip given to me I didn't get the whip. I got a whip given to me from Dad. And I just practiced so hard trying to crack this whip, it took forever. And I was like, I got it. And then all of a sudden, Mark comes back and he couldn't crack the whip. And I was like, yeah, victory. And so you probably get a bit of an inkling into the competition and that sort of healthy brother competition where he just went and practiced like all day until he could crack it louder than me, and he could crack it louder than me. So a little bit of a insight into the competitive nature of our family in regards to brotherly, competition.
And did that competition, did that come from Mum or Dad? And I've met Dad. I haven't met Mum, but I believe
you could probably miss her actually, because she's about 5 foot high, which is amazing when you look at me. I'm 6'4.5". So
it's obvious which brother's got which height, Gene.
Yeah, good call. I like that. I'm going to pay that. Yeah, definitely. He's not here.
No, I know that. And you know what? While we're going, for those people that don't recall, but Mark Kratzman was also our captain for the Spirit cricket team that toured New Zealand. So tonight's all about hanging as much shit on Mark as we can. Okay.
Yep, that's right. Yep, we'll do that. And yep, six years older than me and 6 inches shorter than me is probably all I've got over him actually.
Maybe obviously tennis was a big part of you growing up, but your love of cricket was always there, obviously, because you're still playing and obviously enjoying cricket. What did the cricket journey look like for the Kratzmans? Because you must have reached some lofty levels of cricket through the years.
Yeah, look, I played the same, obviously 52, going 53 this year, same age as Matthew Hayden, and he was from Kingaroy area. We played a lot together as juniors, going to only 12 years old. I stopped, but and obviously he kept going. But when we went different directions at that point, of course, in terms of sports. But yeah, growing up, Mark and I played tennis and cricket, and Mark was in the Queensland tennis and cricket team in when he was 12. And this is what the turning point for us was to go to tennis was just he saw a young fella miss out on the Queensland team that I think he scored 200 or 300 or something at the carnival and didn't get picked. And we sort of thought, Dad sort of went, well, you're going well at tennis, let's go with that, because that selection process, you could miss out. Whereas tennis, it's really all up to you. There's not really a huge amount of team sport in tennis, unless you're playing Davis Cup for the country. That's really the only team event. So it's really up to you. If you went and did well, your ranking went up, you got in the tournament because your ranking's higher. So we liked that aspect of the tennis. And of course, Tony Roach and John Newcombe asking him to go and play down in Sydney was a bit of a, that was a great opportunity for him. And I just followed basically in his footsteps, looked up to him and tried to just emulate what he did. I had a bit of a temper growing up, so it took me a while. It took me a while to get that at bay, and yeah. So,
hey, little birdies, and just before we go to Walshy, little birdies told me that you still got a bit of a hot temper, mate.
No temper. Just
good.
Just annoyed.
A passion to,
let's call it a passion. Hey, yeah,
beautiful.
Was that in England?
I don't know what you're referring to, Kratzy.
Yeah, okay, good. Let's keep it there.
Yeah, very good. So I'll throw to Walshy now, and he can ask some tougher questions than I can.
Oh, damn.
Andrew, put your Tommy the Tourist hat on and tell me, sell Murgon for me and our listeners, Murgon, and also Woombai. Now, if I was to look for those places, where would I find them and what would I find?
Oh, Murgon, you'd find a stack of rugby league players. So you'd find Chris Sandow, you'd find Willie Tonga, you'd find Chris Close from back in the day, like all these fantastic players, and Steve Renoff, who you probably heard on the 12th Man. If you run off Renoff often enough, you'll score plenty of tries. You might have remembered that from the 12th Man. Well, it's Steve Renoff's from Murgon. Murgon has a really rich sporting background. We actually have 1, 2, 3 turf wickets in Murgon, and it's a small town, all at the one place. So pretty amazing to have that at that small town, quite a small town. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers, how many people are there, but has obviously an agricultural industry. It's inland of Gympie, about an hour, so probably inland of the coast, an hour and a half, on the north side of Brisbane.
Okay. Now, what about Woombai?
Woombai is on the Sunshine Coast, so need I say no more? God's country up here. So, it's on the Sunshine Coast, probably same inland of it's not the same, inland of the coast, about 15 minutes, I reckon, to get to the beach. So directly on the Sunshine Coast, beautiful spot.
Well, we're talking specifically about your exploits as a cricket person and a tennis person, but were you ever tempted to have a crack at rugby? You're talking about all these luminaries now who did so well at Murgon. Were you ever tempted to go out there and say, look, I'll see what I can do and not just annoy mum by crunching tennis balls against the weatherboard house?
Oh, no, not after I got coat hangered in at the lunch hour, playing a bit of, rugby league at the lunch hour. I used to play probably a bit too hard. Coming from the country, I had a small school of 20 kids in the school. We all tried really hard when you went and did sport. I went and did that at a big school and I got alienated for it. So, no, when I got that coat hanger, it was like rugby league was over. Other sports, tennis, we had a really good coach in the area, so that made it a lot easier for us to become, be good at that sport.
Okay. Lots of cricket questions to come, but a couple of quick tennis ones before back to Telf. Did you have a wooden racket? Was that the first that you put in your hand when you played tennis?
Yeah, I had a Dunlop Maxfly. That was my first racket. So some people might remember that one's a pretty popular racket. And man, I still remember the smell of that racket. So as you know, people remember the smell of the linseed oil, obviously from oil in their bat. I remember the smell of the wood of that racket and the whole thing about that racket. And yeah.
Have you still got it?
Yeah. I have a particular racket like that, but not the one I use. No, I probably don't have it because it's probably broken or something like that.
And can you remember the significant change? Who'd you hit on the head with it?
Probably my sister or my brother.
But just on sibling rivalry,
yeah.
Oftentimes sibling rivalry can be taken to the next step where there might be a bit of aggression, etc. But it also would mean, I would think, and not knowing the rest of your family, that they'd be the first to be at a sporting event that you were playing in, and they'd be giving you lots of moral support. And that, I think, would typify a small unit in a small place like Mergen who all stuck together when sport was being played.
Yeah, it definitely typifies that. Like I guess in every sibling, in every family, if someone's doing well in sport, they're going to support their sibling. But yes, you're right. In our community out there, it was a very tight knit community, and it wouldn't be just family following us; it'd be the whole community following us, which was really special. So, yeah, I totally agree with that, and had a lot of moral support, even though we had that in competitiveness within the brotherly love, and brotherly love goes a bit far sometimes.
Yeah, fair call. One quick one from me before Telf. We talk about tennis and we talk about cricket. Now, both of those sports are played in the summer, where usually the weather is okay. Was it gut-wrenching or tear-jerking for you in any way, Andrew, when you had to make a call about which sport were you going to be better at?
No, as a youngster, to be fair, that decision was probably made at 12. So I was probably too young to really understand that. That decision of, let's, and as a 12-year-old, for me, I was chasing my dog around the farm at that point, and then all of a sudden went to high school, and so it wasn't super serious for me, and we just moved to Brisbane, and cricket sort of just went by the wayside a little bit, and I started training at Coops Racket Sports, which is Ashley Cooper's old venue on the north side of Brisbane, and yeah, came across great coaches there that helped me get to the point where I could, even possibly think about getting on the tour.
Yeah, well, what were the first words that Tony Roach spoke to you?
Oh, I don't remember the first words, but man, I do remember being really in awe of listening to Tony, and he was a really easygoing guy. And so easy to get along with. And I love Tony for that because he was really helpful in my career when I saw him. Always willing to help, your game, get you down early, do some training early. And even when I wasn't even being coached by Tony, he'd just help all the Aussie guys. So I remember Tony, for those sorts of things.
It's a good reason. Telf.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. With the tennis career, and obviously, the Kratzmann brothers and that duo are famous in international tennis right around the world. We talked about the arguments and the competitiveness that existed between the two of you. Maybe share a bit of a story about being out on the court where you were trying to get. You're playing together, obviously, but maybe where you're trying to get one up on him and obviously try and get your rankings higher and, or try and catch him out and, take advantage of who you were and your relationship with Mark?
Yeah, look, that happened because I used to look up to him all the time. He'd come home, number one junior in the world. He'd come home and I'd be like, oh, he's home. And then he'd sit on the couch and he'd go, go get me a drink, will you? And I'd just go. I'd go get the drink and I'd bring it back. That lasted till I was
how old were you then? What?
12, I was probably between 12 and 15, 16, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
I reckon it went for a while. He bloody stretched that out, I tell you.
Oh, God.
To the point where I got quite rebellious and I was like, nah, mate, I'm not doing that. And, as you would. And then to the point when we were playing together, he was ranked 12 in the world, something like that, 10.
Yep.
And I was like 90 or 100. And here we are playing. I remember it. We're in Nice in France. And that year we played a lot of tournaments together, and we're playing in Nice. And it gets to this point where I'm serving, and I'm like, he goes, I need you to serve here, and I'm like, no, mate, I'm serving over there. Like, he wanted me to serve, like, say wide or something, go wide. And I was like, no, I'm serving down the tee. He's like, anyway, I served where I wanted to serve it. We lost the point. I was like, okay, like, I probably needed to listen, because he's 12 in the world, I'm 100 or whatever. So there's a reason he's 12 in the world. I should have listened. So, that was probably me trying to, get my confidence, I guess, in up, like you do. You're trying to find your place in the picture.
Yeah. Wonderful stuff. And so, your travels right around the world. You've obviously played in, I guess, most of the Grand Slams that occurred around the world. Some of the players that you must have played against would have just been like, wow, I'm playing against this person.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember playing with Mark, and we're playing in Barcelona, and that was the same year. I think it's actually the tournament before Nice, and on clay. And here we go. We rock up, and we're playing Jim Courier and Javier Sanchez, and I'm like, oh man, I've lost this match already. Like, before I even walked on the court. I think, they weren't double, like, Javier was a very good doubles player, but Jim wasn't particularly the greatest doubles player.
But he was Jim Courier.
He was Jim Courier, number one in the world.
I tell you, he'll tune into the clubhouse.
Yeah, he better not. He will not. Google will get him on, I reckon. Heard his name.
So. Exactly.
But yeah, so we ended up actually playing a pretty close match. We lost, but we played a close match, and I should have believed in myself a bit more. Yeah.
And obviously back in the day, and you're playing with your brother, and you're on the professional tennis circuit. It must have been a real mind game, because obviously it's not a team sport, and you must be mentally tough to go out there and play singles and doubles and travel the world, and you're away from home, and you're probably in your early 20s, I guess, and traveling the world playing tennis.
Yeah, it really is a mental game, and especially more so, I'm going to say it is for the Australians, because we've got so far to travel, and you go over there, you're not going for a tournament is 1 week, and the Grand Slams are 2 weeks. So if you lose first round of a Grand Slam, that's you done for another 2 weeks. So there's a lot of downtime. So and I remember losing first round in a few tournaments in a row, and I was like, oh man, this is really hard. And you realize it because you're so far away from home. You're not going home because it's cost you a fortune to go home and then come back again a week later. So Europeans had a bit of an advantage. They lose first round, they just fly home. It's hour flight and they're home, and they can train in their home gym, everything, whatever they had there, and then they're back at the tournament 2 days before and get ready on the surface they're playing on. So mental game, you are exactly right, off court and on court. It's a lonely place. So I remember playing with this Spanish guy in San Marino, which is a little republic in the bottom of Italy, and it was San Marino Grand Prix there, sort of. You might remember that sort of. Anyway, we're there playing. He didn't speak English. I'm playing with the Spanish guy just because we got in on ranking. So we're playing, and he never comes to the net. This guy, like, so he serves and stays back. Like, and that wasn't done back then. It is now, but so he goes, I serve tea. You go that way. Like, this is his English, and it's like pidgin English. It's like I half the time didn't understand him. I was like, I think he meant that way. So I'll go that way. Anyway, so we ended up winning the tournament together. Like, but that whole event, my mate who was there, who played with another player because they could get in together, just ranking wise, it worked so that we could both get in. And he lost first round, so he was out of there going to the next event. And so I'm there by myself for like only Aussie. There's no other Aussie. No, really not many other, the Czechs hung with the Czech guys, the French guys hung with the French guys. So I was by myself there.
Hey, I'll stop you there and let me guess. If Mark was there, he would have just mixed with the top 10, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I wouldn't have even seen him. Like, just walked past him in the, down the hallway in the green room, and he didn't even look at me. Eyes down. Oh, here's my brother. Walked straight past. No, no,
Hey,
he definitely very supportive.
oh, that's good to hear. One last question, and I've heard this story before, but I think it's an important one to share with you, with the listeners and viewers tonight before we throw to Walshy. You're a hit-up partner for some fairly elite players in your travels around the world. Maybe share a couple of the stories about some of the people that you were warm-up partners for.
Yeah, so I actually was warm-up partner for Steffi Graf one year at the Australian Open. So
Wow.
yeah, how's that? I think we had 2 hits, and she lost first round that year. How good is that? I must have been a good hit-up partner
So you
that
got the
year.
sack.
So I think she had like a bit of cartilage issues, and I said, "Oh, so what have you been doing? For this cartilage?" And that she said, "Oh, I've been skiing." I was like, "What?" She hadn't even really done that much preparation with this. Anyway, yeah, and then so I guess like I played doubles with Federer at Wimbledon in 2000. We played together there and played a few tournaments together in the US Open. We lost quarterfinals. We were up 2-0 and lost in quarterfinals at Wimbledon, which would have got me, if I won that match, would have got me entry into Wimbledon the rest of my life. So that was really a tough one to take. And
so was that Roger's fault or yours, mate?
Oh, absolutely his, mate. Come on. I was the doubles. Roger Federer, he was this young 17-year-old. No, he was amazing at that point too, at 17. So, yeah, you can see he was going to be good. He tried his butt off every point, and that's the thing I liked about him the most, and that he was very jovial and a bit of a prankster in the change rooms, very much a prankster. Yeah, got along with everyone.
Just a quick one before you go to Walshy. Do you stay in contact with any of the people that you became friends with on the tennis circuit, or have you sort of drifted apart now?
Drifted apart a bit, but I guess I could if I wanted to get in touch with them. I could. I stay in touch with Pat Rafter and Josh Eagle a little bit, Peter Tremacki, who lives up this way, and a few other blokes around the place. So yeah, but no, it's got my sort of head down, bum up sort of thing, working pretty hard, and it's life goes on, doesn't it? You sort of you get busy doing things. Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. Walshy, over to you.
Andrew, when did you have to make the decision that it was going to be doubles? I mean, I'm not aware as to how it works. If you wanted to play singles at any time during your career, is that an easy transition, or is it easy to do that? Because when we think of Todd Woodbridge and Mark Woodford, we talk about them being a doubles pair.
Yeah.
Now, was singles anywhere at the top of what you were looking for at any stage of your career?
Yeah, it was. As a youngster, I was playing good singles at up till about probably 23. And that's probably about when the decision was made. But as a youngster, I've sort of trained really hard, and I don't think I trained as hard as people like Pat Rafter and other people like that. I saw his training regime and went, "Oh my God, if that's what it takes, I'm out." Like, he was training so hard, it was ridiculous what he was doing when I got shown. And kudos to him, he did what he did, and that's the reason. And but in terms of singles, I got to the point, I got to 290 in the world in singles, which doesn't get you into any of those big tour events. It gets you into some challenger events, which are those sort of 50 to 100 back then, 50 to 100,000 dollar events. And my doubles was going really well at the time too. I think I was just outside the 100 at that point. And it really was at the age of about 23 where I decided to just go to doubles. And to answer your question about when you're playing doubles and can you just go and play singles, they're 2 separate rankings. And so if you wanted to get into the singles event, you needed to have a good singles ranking. So Todd Woodbridge and Mark Woodford were both very good singles players in their own right. They both made the top 20 in the world. Todd made quarterfinals of Wimbledon, or semi-finals, I think, of Wimbledon even. I think he made. So they were fantastic singles players in their own right as well as doubles, because you only remember them as doubles players, but they were really good singles players.
Did you pick your coaches or did they pick you? And I'd just like to get an indication if you got into a regime of having a coach that you really felt good with, you could stay with them forever. What was your record like with coaches?
So yeah, I didn't have many coaches over my time. Once I got on the tour, I really just, and it's probably a place I would look back and do differently, to be fair. It was probably more of a money decision than anything else. But you need to spend the money to make the money, right? So, and having someone in your corner is so valuable in a sport like that where you're alone. Yeah. So, in hindsight, that was probably a decision I could have made differently. At times, I had coaches, and in terms of my favourite coach was the late Bob Carmichael, who I got picked in an Australian squad. And he was the coach, and I thrived under him. Just seemed to have this connection, and he was Pat's rafters coach early on too, and Pat thrived under him as well. So really good hard work ethic, and really liked the way he coached. Other than that, Brent Larkham was a fantastic coach for me as well. There's people Bob Carmichael you may have heard of, but Brent Larkham you may not have heard of. Yeah. So
and just a final one before we go to Telf. I don't want you to be specific with the dollars and cents, but is
that me that's cutting out?
While on the circuit now, if you can round in the top echelon and just below the top echelon of tennis players.
Yeah. I think you definitely can make a lot better money these days. And I know travel and everything's gone up more, and the tournaments do look after you though when you go there. In terms of you can make money at maybe, I'm guessing, but back then it was 250 in the world in singles. You could be making decent money if you're 250 plus and there for a while. In doubles, it's probably back then it was probably 60 or better in the world, and now it's you get paid a lot more. So, which is rightly so, because they obviously bring in the television rights and everything, and they do a good job, and they quite rightly should get paid well. So, in terms of making money these days, I'd be guessing, Walshy, I'm not really sure, but I would say the top 400 are probably making decent money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of those who is making a lot of money is the person who's going to ask you the next question, Telf.
That took you by surprise, Telf.
I don't even know where that came from, Walshy. If you could see my bank balance, I tell you
what. On the tennis tour?
Yeah. Anyway, I've never played international tennis, so I'm like Andrew, dirt broke. Kratzy, let's now. We've spent half an hour talking about tennis and that tennis journey. Let's now sort of look at that veterans cricket journey, and obviously, I guess you're a newcomer to the game in a roundabout sort of way, being 52, 53. You must have played your first nationals in Adelaide, and that would have been an amazing experience for you, and representing Queensland for the first time at that level, at that age. Yeah,
absolutely. Very privileged to play that event. Oh, your event was amazing, Telf. It was so good. Well done. I'm sure you hear it all the time, but you did such a great job there, and I absolutely loved the event. Didn't love how I went, but my experience there was just that whole team aspect. I love team sports, and being picked in to play for your state is always an honour, and it's an honour to your state, and it's an honour to your family that you need to really respect. And I always try to do that. Great experience, and obviously played a second nationals and then got picked from that nationals. So
and then obviously in Adelaide we all met in Adelaide and had an absolute ball, and we all actually got to meet Walshy in Adelaide, which was pretty special for a lot of our veterans family. But you then went on to Melbourne, and then obviously had an exceptional Melbourne tournament last year, and then got selected to represent your country, mate, and presented a baggy green as part of that quad series that that we all, saw over in New Zealand. That must have been pretty special for you, and one of those bucket list things that us older cricketers all attempt to do, and you've achieved it pretty much in your second year of Vets cricket.
Yeah. Look, obviously having that great Victorian nationals was obviously what got me picked, and to actually get picked in the Aussie team, yeah, what an honour, like to play alongside other players that had great performances and have in the past, and to wear the baggy green is an absolute honour, and going to the quad series, you were there. Yeah, that was fantastic. That was so much fun playing with those guys. And look, I've always taken on cricket as being, we're not professionals. We're there to have fun, and that's always my first thing I do. Like my first thought walking on the field. It's not necessarily we need to win this. My first thing is we need to have fun first, because guess what? You play better when you have fun. Yeah. So, we've seen that. We saw Meekie make the Australian team after Adelaide, Queensland not doing particularly well. Meekie did really well, and he was the guy who had the most fun in the team.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Was that the day at when you played Western Australia, and I think you met Walshy for the first time? And did Meekie have the mankini? Was that day? Or was that someone else? That was someone else.
Meekie, that was someone else. That could have been me, actually.
Oh, there you go.
No, I think it might have been Clint. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, okay. So you've played Davis Cup. You've represented your country there with tennis. You've represented your country playing cricket. How do they compare as far as bucket lists? And obviously one was professional and one was as an amateur. But how do they compare against each other?
Love team sports, so love being part of a team. I guess Davis Cup. I've got to say, I actually didn't play Davis Cup for Australia. I was in the Davis Cup squad.
Sorry,
it's a far cry to get to play in that team, I tell you, because when I was 13 in the world in doubles, and Mark Woodford was 1, Todd Woodbridge was 2. Todd Woodbridge was 2, and Sandon Stolly was 3. I was never going to get picked. All three of those guys singles players. So I had an opportunity probably a bit later. If I'd kept playing, I probably would have played, because the doubles players sort of died away, and there might have been opportunity. But that's that's neither here nor there. But in terms of your question, like I've been picked in Australian teams, but in terms of your question, playing for Australian cricket was in the 50s is just my favourite experience. So there's other great experiences. Winning with my brother at the Adelaide International with Mark there in '94, that was probably one up there, probably top experience. But in terms of saying those two teams, Australia is definitely on top of that one. Australia and cricket.
One last question before I throw back to my mate Walshy. Mum and Dad are great supporters of the Kratzman boys, and we've seen your dad over in New Zealand following you around, playing for the Spirit of Cricket and the Quad Series brothers respectfully. Did they follow you when you were travelling with cricket? With tennis?
Yeah, they both did, because Mum's a UK national. She was born there, so born in Portsmouth. Don't hold it against her. So so Dad travelled with me a lot because he was a farmer, so he could get away a bit. And farm wasn't going anywhere, kind of thing. So he came away a lot. He only generally come away if I wanted him to come, and he could help me. So which he did. He did a lot.
Yeah.
And he was part of the reason I made the final at the Australian Open of the doubles. So, excuse me. Yeah. So, his help. He just knew what he had to do with my game to get me to my top level to play. So, and that's just what we did daily. Yeah. So he traveled with us a fair bit around the world, and
fantastic to share all of those many moments with your full family. So,
great experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Walshy?
Andrew, what would you consider to be your biggest strength when you're a leader of men? When you step onto the field and you've got all of those guys who are looking at you for guidance and for inspiration, Does your temperament change much? Do you think you're a level-headed person when there'll be pressure out there, when you might lose a few early wickets or the fielding might be a bit sloppy? What do you like when you need to get the discipline across to your troops?
You know, I don't go too hard on them. I really learned, actually, believe it or not, from my nephew, Jacob, who was my captain of my club up here for a few years. And I learned a lot from him. He's a real people person, and he really, he talked to the person and not so much like and talk to each person. And I really enjoyed that. And so for me, getting a message across, it wouldn't be like yelling in any way. It would be, you know, I know everyone's trying their best, so it might be a little pep up to get people, you know, to that next level. Come on, guys, we've got to get this happening here. You know, but with an emphasis on making sure we're having fun, because when you're not having fun, things aren't going well. So you've got to remember why you're out there. And I like to remind people that the team that you've got to have fun. So you've got to talk to each other across the field. You make some jokes, banter across the field to each other, and lighten it a bit. Obviously, with focusing on your bowlers, making sure your bowlers are, you know, getting the confidence they need from us.
Yep. And the preparatory work that you would try to do before the Mildura escapade gets underway and we're full throttle, there won't be too much time to draw breath. How difficult is it, or how difficult will it be to make sure you know enough about the opposition before you play them?
Yeah, it is a good one. I think I'm going to pretty much know most of my opposition just from playing. But there'll obviously be the dark horse. You're like, I don't know anything about this guy. Does anyone know him? And you won't. So in that instance, you've really got to focus on your own game and your own plans. And if, you know, they're changeable. So, and that's what we will be preparing. That's how we will be preparing, is we'll have plans set in place, fielders in certain spots, and, you know, like they'll need to be in those spots. No questions asked. You need to be in that spot. You know, so in terms of a game plan, yeah, that's pretty much what we need to do. Yeah.
Did you have to scratch your noggin all that much when you had the big night of the draft? Did you pick who you wanted to pick? Were you pleased with the end result?
We had to scratch our heads a fair bit, because there was a couple of times we went to pick two people and they got picked the pick before us. So it was. So we were like, oh gosh, we don't, you know, like you saw us.
It was a lot of fun, wasn't it? It was stressful, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you know, it's a bit. I guess we're going to talk about that in a little while, but yeah, like it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and Shorty came up to the Sunshine Coast and drove up, and we sat there in Mark's unit and went over the teams and sat there and picked from Mark's, you know, from just down there in Maroochydore sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of fun. I was scratching my head a lot, Walshy.
All right. Well, whilst you're scratching your head, you can get ready for Telf, who's ready to fire back right at you. Our special guest, Andrew Cracksman, joining us on our program, and lots to talk about. And we're gleaning a bit of information. I've got a curly one for you right at the very end, Andrew. I'll keep that one.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, Kratzy, Walshy's got far too much time on his hands. He comes up with these curly questions. Hey, the draft was a lot of fun, and obviously we are heading towards Mildura. But before we get to the Spirit of Cricket T20 tournament, let's talk about the tours that you've been on. And obviously you've been, you know, to New Zealand, you've been to the UK and had a successful trip there with the Aussie team winning the Marlborough Cup and knocking off the Poms that, you know, they're the current, you know, world title or world champions. And then we head into Mildura for another international tri series. And this time it's a little bit different because we've got the Kiwis hitting Mildura along with Australia A. And it's going to be quite a unique week, I think, watching how Australia and Australia A play. And I'm getting to the question in a minute, but it's a fantastic opportunity, and this is where I'm heading, a fantastic opportunity for, it must be 28 players from Australia to get their opportunity to show the selectors, you know, where they're situated as far as going to Sri Lanka for the World Cup.
It's imperative to have tournaments like this, especially what a great opportunity to have that extra team be able to play and put their foot forward at that next level. And that's probably what the selectors need to see is, can they do that at that next level? We've seen you do it at that other level. That's why you're in the team. Can you do it at that next level? And that's kind of, I guess, why we've needed to play these tournaments, because last time they felt we went over there not knowing these guys could play at that next level, and not having prepared with playing a few tournaments here and there, and where the Poms play all the time, like they're playing all the time, those guys over there. So it's no wonder they're the current world champions, and we knocked them off. Yeah. So, but yeah, what a great opportunity for an extra. How many guys? Yeah, 14 guys that are going to get the opportunity to put their strides forwards.
No, it's going to be a fantastic week, and I think the first game is going to be an absolute ripper, Kratzy. It's Australia versus Australia A. It's out at Wentworth. Now, I know for a fact that through your tennis travels right around the world, you ended up in Mildura and were a local there and played cricket for Mildura East there. And I don't think did we cross paths? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But you know what the facilities are going to be like in Mildura, so a little bit of inside information. Tell us the Wentworth pitch, and look, it has had a revamp. It's probably one of the best it's probably one of the best cricket wickets in Mildura. So I'm really looking forward to that one, because that's Australia versus Australia A to set the series up.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to get back there. Yeah, like you said, I lived there for I think it was about 18 months, and I absolutely love the place. Honestly, I really feel like that this will be a coming home a little bit for me, because I really fell in love with that place. I can't wait to get back there and play cricket. Obviously, they're good wickets. I'm hoping they're good in September for batters, and don't care about the bowlers much, but yeah, no, that's their problem. But yeah, no, I hope they're really nice wickets, and it sounds like it's going to be a cracking game, that first one. Playing, there'll be some people wanting to really prove their strides and that there, won't there? So.
Oh, there will be, and I've heard that the Australian A boys are coming hard. They've got nothing to lose against the Australian team, so it's going to set up an amazing first up week. And then the following day we've got the Kiwis who will arrive into town, and then you'll get to play each other twice. So great opportunities right throughout the week. But even more importantly, Kratzy, more opportunities to gel with the group of guys that are all there for the same reasons.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I missed that sort of part of it where we're getting ready for everything we've done has been in preparation for Sri Lanka next year. And Clarkie and the people in charge of the, all these tours and that, Nighty, the selectors, their whole idea was to get some games in, because we need to do this. We need to actually see whether our team gels together before we decide that's the team, that's the 16 that are going. So yeah, it's really important, this kind of tournament, to get that right, to when we go to Sri Lanka, that we can come home with some silverware.
Yeah, and look, some of the wickets that you'll be playing on, you'll be playing at Wentworth for a couple of days. You'll play at Chafee Park for a couple of days. You'll head into Sarah Oval at number 3 Oval beside the trotting track for a couple, and then the final will be at the Senior College. So all of those wickets have got different characteristics, which we're going to get as a touring squad when we go to Sri Lanka. So some are a little bit bouncier, some are slow and low, and some are a little bit tennis bally. So it's going to be it's an opportunity to showcase on different conditions. So it'll test the guys out, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'll probably lead into our T20 competition, and you are, before I throw to Walshy, you are captain of one of the first franchises that signed up, EV2 Cricket, and John Short is the franchise owner there. It must have been a real honour to be approached by Shorty to be captain, and I think we announced you as our first skipper of the franchises. So congratulations to you. I'm looking forward to it, and maybe speak on behalf of Shorty.
Yeah, look, what an opportunity. Shorty called me and said, "Hey, I've bought a franchise, and what do you think of captaining for us?" And I was like, "Mate, you serious? Thank you so much. I absolutely would love to do that." And he said, we had eventually got Miki on there as well as vice captain. So yeah, what an opportunity to play with these boys that I really do like playing with. You could have just put me with those two, and I would have had a great time. And then then we get to pick a number of other guys that we're going to have an even better time with. So yeah, our focus is going to be on making sure that we have fun on field, because only one team wins the cup. So you got to have fun along the way. Otherwise, you're playing for the wrong reasons. So yeah, really looking forward to it. We're going to go hard, but yeah, really looking forward to it. And what an opportunity that Shorty's given us boys.
No,
so
it definitely is. And Walshy, to you,
Andrew, have you got a mentor? Have you got someone that you could sit down with, maybe at the end of a long day, or maybe at the end of a match where you wanted to just throw a few ideas or thoughts and theories to someone who you respected, mightn't be a former player or a current player, but someone that you've developed a good friendship with over the years?
Yeah, I definitely call Miki a fair bit. I speak to Miki a lot. It's more of a check-in, men's health-wise, I guess, more than anything, that is. But yeah, I actually talked to Chris Holding a little bit as well. In terms of a mentor, probably my dad. Walshy, he's got such a wealth of cricket knowledge, and he's not short to hand over his knowledge to anyone who listens. So,
or opinions.
Great. Yeah, opinion. Well, you could call them opinions, or yeah. So yeah, but yeah, no, he's not backward in coming forwards with what he sees. And to be fair, most of the time what he sees is correct, and I'm going to say probably 90% of the time. And often it's not hard to see it when you're off field, is it? And when you're on field in the moment, you don't see it as well. So that's where having, like you said, Walshy, a mentor, someone you can talk to, is a great opportunity to do that. So my dad would probably be that person, much as I probably don't talk to him enough.
Okay, and just another quick one. What about when you're in the business of passing on details, and they might be a little bit negative? They might be someone who is a bit sloppy in the field, or didn't play the correct shot and was given out, or didn't bowl very well. Do you feel comfortable about, as your role in the team, getting the group together and talking to them about how they can improve?
Yeah, definitely. I feel comfortable with that. I wouldn't bring too much of the negative side of things. I'd just probably focus more on what we need to get. Because when you focus on the negative, then they start thinking too much about that. I'm a tennis coach, obviously, and I know that I'm not going to get much out of someone if I keep talking about what they're doing wrong. So I'd rather talk about what they need to do. Then it gives them something to focus on, and then they can go, "Oh, that's what they want." I messed up. I know I messed up. Don't need to tell a 55-year-old that they messed up. They know, so they can then go have that clear focus on what they need to do. See, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Yeah, I have a problem with attitude, but I have a problem with attitude, and I'll knock that on the head straight away. But in terms of doing the wrong thing in that regard, and yeah, but not with someone making a mistake.
No, well answered. Now, I apologise for asking this question because I haven't got all of the details, but over the weekend, I'm sure that I picked up something off the BBC about a discussion as to the ball in a game that was being played, the ball over the net bounced twice and was then hit back. And I got the impression from those that were calling it that this was something that was going to be examined about a possible rule change in the sport of tennis. Now, bouncing once and then being hit back or bounced on or taken on the full by someone at the net, or that you can understand. And I know in Paralympics, you take Dylan Alcott, they have different rules. Have you heard, and I'm being really serious about this question, have you heard anything at all about the possibility of discussions to make the game look a little better or go a bit longer?
No, I haven't heard any of that. I would probably only think, like, in all honesty, I could maybe that's over 70s or 80s or something like that. But two bouncers like that. That's most. Yeah, I don't know who this BBC person was, but they're bonkers if they think that
Oh, right.
that's going to change. Like, that's ridiculous. Two bouncers. Like, I don't understand where that would have come from, but yeah. Look, I don't know, Walshy. That's interesting that came up, and you said you were being all serious. So,
Well, look,
it's
the
obviously someone
discussions.
talking about it, unless
Yeah,
it was
the
the Sun.
discussions that followed were, look, they've got the technology. Why couldn't they just replay it and see whether or not there was an extra bounce or what?
Oh, like technology. I
Yes.
think they should use that, definitely. Yeah, sorry. No, I thought you meant like they're going to bring in a 2-ball bounce rule. No, I thought you meant that. So no, definitely they should bring that in 100%. Walshy, like, they've got the technology, and I've seen it on, the shorts and that on YouTube where the guy hits it into the ground and it goes over, and then the umpire goes, "Oh, that's a legal shot," because he thought it, because it hits the bottom of the racket and then goes quickly into the ground and bounces over. You can tell what it looks like. It's like the bump ball whole thing, like you can tell. And they should have the same as what cricket do, where they go, "Oh, let's just have a look. It takes 2 seconds."
I can
Thanks
see
for helping me out of a hole there. I'll do some digging and find out something a bit more specific.
Yeah,
I can see Kratzy out on the tennis court with his tennis racket going like this now.
Bloody hell. Yeah, I wish I had those things. Yeah, they do those these days. You can challenge. You go, yeah, that's a challenge. Yeah, but obviously, but yeah.
Very good.
They should bring that in.
Very good.
Okay, well answered, Andrew, too. And I didn't want to throw you under the bus there. I'll ring that BBC bloke and tell him he's just been made redundant. Telf?
Thanks, Walshy. I'm still here, and I've got a couple more questions I want to ask. I want to talk a little bit more about your team, Kratzy, and obviously, you've had the opportunity to select players, and you've already told us you missed out on a couple. One of the things that's most exciting about this tournament is if you hit the sign on the full, you win $5,000, and I'm sure that you will have it. Well, you do now. So there's going to be 2 signs on the main ground at Sarah Oval, and if a player is lucky enough to hit the sign, and our camera crew are even more skilled to catch the ball hitting the sign, then there will be one player that pick up $5,000 through the tournament. So
nice. That's
so
awesome.
in your team, besides yourself, who do you think are going to dominate with the bat and potentially target those signs? One you've already mentioned probably comes to mind, who will have a fair old crack at it. Yeah,
Meeky, definitely. I've got to give away all my big hitters now.
Oh no, that's okay. We're talking to everyone else, but
there's 14 players that can hit that sign. No, I'm only kidding. Ashley Sipple, definitely. Billy Moggs, 100%. He's absolute hitter. Damien Meek, of course. Damo Watson's been put in the team for that exact part. I'm not sure how Dylan Fernandez bats. I know he bowls the house down. Grant Nelson. They'd say Watto, sorry. Yeah, Grant Nelson. Yep, he's a hitter. Hammer can whack him. Hammer Stewart. He can also play the guitar.
Yeah, and he's bringing his guitar too, I've heard.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm not sure about Woodsy, Ian Wood. Shorty can hit too. My brother obviously can whack him. Mark Little. Geez, Matt Harris.
So you're going to give this sign a fair old nudge, aren't you?
Oh, there's a lot of hitters there, to be fair. So
it's creating a lot of interest amongst the franchise, and obviously you haven't received feedback that there is going to be 2 signs at Sarah Oval, so you might have a couple of games there. So you've got 2 opportunities to have a crack at that sign. So that's going to be exciting. Maybe share with us quickly before we start to wrap up, because we've nearly been going an hour. Tell us about the team, what style of game you're going to bring to the park, and obviously you're there to have a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, look, our team was picked around, to be fair, saving runs in the field. That was what our team was. Our focus was right from the word go, because we feel like the more runs you save in the field, the less you have to score with the bat. So that was massive for us. So we've got quite a lot of good fielders in our team, as probably the other teams do as well. Our focus, will be obviously going hard at the start. I've played a fair bit of T20 cricket because our first grade comp up is we play a T20 comp. I'm going to have a couple of games before I come down, actually. So, look, that's if I get picked. But yeah. We'll be playing quite an aggressive style of cricket and then slowing it up with the bowling and backing ourselves in the field, really. We'll be playing some different shots around the park, like I do, I guess. So lap sweeps, reverse sweeps. Yeah.
Having played a game against you over in New Zealand in Christchurch, and I was keeping it at one stage. I moved the fielder. I remember it vividly. I moved the fielder because I saw a gap and I saw you looking there. So I moved the fielder around to sort of fill that hole up. And the very next ball, you hit the ball straight into the gap that I just created for you. So
I appreciate that. Thanks.
I know the capacity and the skills that you've got that you're going to bring to the T20 tournament, and we're really looking forward to showcasing not just your skills but the rest of the two teams. So good luck to you guys. We're really looking forward to having everyone come to Mildura, and it is a 2-week festival, and it's going to be an exciting time. So maybe one last question from Walshy to you, and then we might wrap up, and maybe a final word from yourself, Kratzy.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, as we get near the start of the AFL final series, we haven't got long to wait. We've got a bye. You've just got, do you count the number of sleeps that you've got before you'll be in Mildura?
No, I don't. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to being there.
The nerves that you've had, when you were standing on a tennis court and you had, Steffi Graf on the other side when you were warming up with her, the nerves.
That wasn't nerves.
No, it wasn't nerves. I was going to say something, but I will move on from there because Andre Agassi is probably listening in, so he won't say anything.
Course, so. Very respectful, yeah.
But the challenge that you have undertaken and have been bestowed the honour of captaining this team, is it the biggest that you've had in sport? Bring tennis into this equation as well, because you're skipper of a country and you're skipper of the Australian team that's got a mixture of all sorts of goodies.
No, he's not captain of the Australian team.
No, not the Australian team, but the team. And you'll have close to you those from all around the world in the nations that are playing. What sort of a buzz is that for you?
Oh, being the captain of this is an absolute buzz. In terms of the pressure that comes with that, obviously there's added pressure. I don't feel like I need to take that on board, though, in terms of the pressure. The pressure is something you put on yourself, really. So it's about how you look at it. And in terms of the pressure that I felt in comparison to the tennis, is what you said at the start. There's no comparison to playing, say, at a final of Australian Open compared to playing in a T20 tournament. Like that's there's a lot of added pressure, I guess, in that you could win a Grand Slam. So there's a lot of pressure there. But once you get to that point and you've played that many matches, to me, you get in a zone and you don't really even feel that. You don't even notice. You're just thinking about the next moment. And really, there's a whole process that I go through when I played where there was no time to be thinking about that. So you never gave yourself that time, like in golf, where you've got so much time. You got to switch off. And so I do that with cricket. I switch off because there is quite a lot of time. So I've learnt to switch off more, whereas tennis is a bit quicker. And so you got to actually be really switched on because it's quite quick between points. So you got to be one step ahead of the guy, just like in cricket. So in terms of pressure, there's sort of been there, done that, and love it. I love that it really gets me in the zone when the stakes are higher. So really enjoy that opportunity. Can't wait. Can't wait to get down there and captain the team.
Good on you, Telf.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. And I'll tell you what, before we have one last word from you, Kratzy, and then this show has all been about you, not Mark. So we'll make sure that we leave the focus, about you at the end. Walshy, we might just throw it back to you because you'll enjoy this, Kratzy. And if you haven't seen it before, Walshy loves doing the promo for the Spot On Hose and Fittings.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Telf. From manufacturing to delivery. Wollongong based, but now with new offices in Newcastle, Spot On Hose and Fittings is the go-to for supply of hydraulic hoses, fittings, adapters, valves and connectors, offering delivery Australia-wide with having testing facilities on site. Spot On is the team to see. Come on, Jeff, remove the digit. This is your move. And Ben, tell them that we sent you. All the best to you, Telf.
Well done, Walshy.
Well done. Brilliant.
I tell you what, you should have seen the first time he did it. It was an absolute schmozzle. But I tell you what, he's getting a lot better. So well done, Walshy. And I'm sure
Don't send it to me.
Chiller will be tuning in, another franchise owner. We had him last week for the Spot On Strikers, and they're bringing Dougie Walters. I don't know if you've heard that, Kratzy, but Dougie Walters,
I heard that. Yeah, fantastic.
so he's going to be in town, and no doubt he'll share some time with the EV2 franchise. And I know Shorty's looking forward to him. So one last word from you, and then we'll wrap up and let everyone go on their merry way.
Well, I really appreciate the spirit of cricket and Telf. You guys, Walshy, enjoy. Inviting me on. It's going to be a bit of a homecoming for me going back to Mildura. I'm really looking forward to it. There's so many people. I coach tennis down there. I had 350 kids a week kind of thing. So I can't wait to get back there and see some faces that I haven't seen for a very long time. I haven't been back there for a very long time. So excited about this next tour down to Mildura. And my dad and I are driving down. So Nev's coming too, so he won't miss a cricket thing. So really looking forward to skippering the team. And thanks, Walshy and Telf, for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Kratzy. And did you know the new marketing for Mildura is now the tropical north of Victoria? Have you caught that yet?
Oh, wow. Is it actually in Victoria? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is in Victoria. Yeah. But
it can't be tropical, mate.
I tell you
what. Dayton's tropical?
No.
That's on the other side.
Google Mildura.com and you'll see that the new marketing ploy and advertising is all based on the tropical north of Victoria. And who knows, you and your brother could become ambassadors for Mildura.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Maybe.
You never know. Anyway, I tell you what, it's great to have you on here in the clubhouse as our very special guest, the Spot On Hose and Fittings clubhouse for that matter. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like and share it. It's on YouTube. We'll share it on Facebook. It is SOC TV Global, and we're pretty proud of what we're achieving here. And Walshy, once again, it's been a pleasure having you here. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a great night. Good night.
Thanks, Del. Thanks, Andrew.